Okay, happy hump day, if we are still saying that here in the discourse from the Pats Interference Podcast. It is Wednesday afternoon. Patriots are playing tomorrow. I said this at the end of the last episode. It's a different schedule this week. This is the last time I'm going to have an episode until next week, so we will not have the traditional game after review, film notes, mailbag, everything like we did on Monday. That will be next week. A couple of guests, not as much film, but certainly some takeaways from whatever happens Thursday night in New Jersey with the Pats and the Jets. In the meantime, another heater of an episode, this time with James White. Again, I told you last week would be coming on. We go for an hour, diving deep not only into the Patriots offense versus the Jets defense and the Jets offense versus the Patriots defense. We talk about why he's still laughing about Sam Darnold seeing ghosts. At the time, though, I should tell you, we did not have the injury report. So as you know, there's not a whole lot of practice time between, Sunday game going into Thursday. And the injury report is really going to be significant because, as we just found out before I started recording this intro, not only is Jawan Bentley out, probably for the season, they're still listing as a shoulder, but we know it's a torn pec. The Darian Lowe is out. The Patriots' second starting left tackle not playing Thursday against the Jets, which means Caden Wallace, third-round rookie, spent all of college at right tackle, will probably be starting on the blind side. Aside from that, O'Shane Ximines is out with the knee, and here are the guys who are questionable. Three captains are here. David Andrews, questionable with a hip. Mike Onwenu, questionable with a wrist. Jabril Peppers, questionable with a shoulder injury, and so is Dietrich Wise. For the Jets, Jermaine Johnson, out. Huge help from a pass rush standpoint because he's the only guy who's been winning up front for them. We talk about that more with James. C.J. Mosley is questionable with the toe injury. Bill Belichick's favorite opposing linebacker, Tutas Bukezat, when we had him in press conferences, and I would say deservedly so. Mosley has not practiced this week, and that could be key for an offense that we know, of course, wants to pound the ball down their opponent's throats. But I think also this week we'll see a little bit more of play action. Now, you need to throw the ball to someone for play action because that's how it works. It's a passing concept. And we know the Patriots have obviously been dismal with that when it comes to the receiving. Did a lot of breakdowns with the Seahawks game and who got targets, who didn't, why that happened. I do think the Patriots will make adjustments, not only just because you would hope so, right? But there is something to be said for an offense that right now through 2 weeks has to make a foundational shift from this downfield, deep play action passing game that was built off of their run game, which has been established properly, to more quick game, which the old regime majored in. That's what they did. It was their bread and butter, operate and throw within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. And we don't know if Alex Van Pelt can do that, especially on the fly. But James White tells us in a little bit, even with the limited amount of practice time, there may be a way to incorporate more of those concepts, which we've hardly seen for 2 weeks, and the Patriots need to incorporate because they can't protect right now. So I will leave all the commentary about pass protection because we belabored it last time and end it right there. One more thing I do want to say, and we're going to get to our prize pick picks of the week. On Monday night, I did TV, the last segment closing in on 11 o'clock Eastern after watching and writing about film for 10, 11 hours, doing this podcast, generally long weekend. This is not to complain or excuse anything, but I argued for playing Joe Milton ahead of Drake May. It's Wednesday. I've slept since. You look back, and sometimes when you talk into a microphone for long enough, you say things, you're like, it probably wasn't the smartest take. But my concern for the state of the offensive line is really what that was about. It's not because I'm rushing to put Joe Milton in the game. It's because I don't want Drake May in this situation. And the question was predicated on the idea that Jacoby Brissett would get hurt. What do you do after that? There is a way, and I should have said this at the time, to put Drake May in and have a very simple, safe game plan. And if you don't move the ball downfield, that he gets real NFL reps, and even if you go scoreless, that's valuable experience that goes beyond the 30% of snaps he's seeing in practice with the starting offense, which are also valuable. But it still frightens me because you're trying to build new habits, again, from the literal ground up with his footwork and putting him in this situation, not only having to read different defenses, evade defenders, and get he's more athletic, but avoiding sacks is about more than just how fast you can run or how quickly you can react. It's about anticipating where that rush is going to come from and all the experience sliding and moving within the pocket, especially when the Patriots put him under center, which is going to happen. He was never under center really in college, okay? Jacoby Brissett has done that for the last decade. He's worked at all of those things, reading defenses, the footwork, evading rushers, getting out, and gotten much better at it. When his first year really as a starter with the Colts, he was a sack machine. It was a vending machine for sacks. You just had to get close to him and push him like a button. And he went down a lot. And now he's not doing that as much. And to me, again, I talked about that's really key. So anyway, I would not start Joe Milton. This isn't to backtrack. It's just to say the couple of times that you go, all right, that was a little too far late at night. But you get it here. This is the podcast. And we're going to move forward with James White, but not until accountability here, which I'm being real all the time. We are ice cold with the Prize Picks of the week. And Prize Picks, huge supporter of the podcast. You should be good to them. And here's why. Not just because they're America's #1 daily fantasy sports app, where it's you against the numbers. But right now, through September, as you build a stat projection lineup, just more or less, you pick the player, they'll give you a stat, you think more or less, and boom, you pick them. They're giving you a free square. It's Caleb Williams, a half a passing yard. If Caleb Williams has 1 passing yard on Sunday, boom, you win. So you're really just up to whatever picks come next. And we're going to give you a couple winners coming later. This is the simplest and fastest way to win money while you watch sport. Again, you just pick 2 or more stat projections for players in the NFL or MLB or basketball, wherever it might be, and see if you win. That's it. And you can win up to 100 times your money with as few as 4 correct picks. I've used it before. We've talked about this. We're going to give you some on football. But until Sunday rolls around, until Thursday night rolls around, download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS for $50 instantly once you play $5. And that's win or lose. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks. You get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Okay, time for these 2 new Prize picks of the week. We're going to stick with the Patriots because supposedly that's what I know best, even though we are 0 for 4. But here's the thing. Given the record what it is, and it's early season, we got a lot of season to go. Anyone who's giving out tips like this or winners or whatever, they can't be celebrating in September because everyone gets humbled over time. I think we are going to feel better once we get to December and January. But if you want to fade these, do the opposite. Take the Costanza approach of the opposite of every instinct you have, every instinct I have, and take the opposite, fine. But these are my picks, and here they come. Antonio Gibson, more than 32.5 combined rushing and receiving yards. Short week, which means more rotations. You saw what he could do last week with a 49-yard run. That single run would have covered this and then some. He's a guy who's going to see more snaps than usual on a Thursday night. This is a bad Jets run defense that's bottom 10 by any metric worth its salt. They're going to get him involved, I believe, in the screen game. That leads to Antonio Gibson having more yards than you expect, more than 32.5, which leads us to our second pick. And I know we all got burned week 1. Pop Douglas, best receiver in the summer, leads the team in catches and training camps, and then, just 2 against the Bengals, and zip against the Seahawks. This is over. They're going to get him the ball, or at least try. So I would say more than 3 targets for Pop Douglas in this game where the Jets stink at tackling. They're going to put him in motion. I think they'll get him in quick game concepts, and they're going to get the ball to him, and he'll do the rest. But at the very least, more than 3 targets for Demario Douglas. So those are the Prize Pick picks of the week. Antonio Gibson, more than 32.5 combined rushing and receiving yards. Demario Douglas, more than, doesn't matter catches, doesn't matter yards, more than 3 targets over at Prize Picks. Okay, here comes James White, who you might have mentioned. I might have mentioned this before. He is coaching a part-time role with the Northern Illinois football team that upset Notre Dame on the road a couple weekends ago. So he is coming to us not live, from Illinois, as you'll see for the YouTube folks. And I tried to get him to open up a little bit how he celebrated because we were supposed to actually hang out that night and he had a delayed flight, yada, yada. Anyway, here comes James White, Notre Dame conqueror, former Super Bowl champion on the Pass Interference podcast. So you know him as 3-time Super Bowl champion, Patriots legend, future Patriots Hall of Famer, James White. I know him as Notre Daddy because he is a member of the Northern Illinois football team that took down Notre Dame a couple weekends ago. James, I told the folks afterward on the pod, I'm starting to do this like behind the scenes road trip, what it's like to be in my shoes. Not as interesting as yours, of course. On these games I mentioned, we might have connected.
I wouldn't say that.
Well, thank you. But we might have connected, and it turns out, flight delay, whatever. We were going to celebrate your program you've been working with this season's big win, top 5 win. How did you celebrate? Because I never asked you that once you finally landed in Cincinnati for the opener and called the Patriots game on the radio.
I mean, it was awesome just to see the guys, the way they went out and fought, just to see the preparation that they had throughout the week. Going up against a tough environment, tough opponent, where most people thought they would have been outmatched. They truly believe that they were going to win the football game all along. And you could tell from the beginning of the football game, they faced some adversity throughout the game, but withstood the storm and they fought hard. And that's what it's all about. But when it comes to it, you've seen it. You can win that game, but you have plenty of games, left ahead of you. So you have to keep that same energy and same momentum, throughout MAC play and the rest of the season.
Okay, so the folks on YouTube can see that you are in the Northern Illinois football facility right now. You got the background, but I want you to speak as if you're at home and tell me the honest truth. Like I can tell you're a coach by that answer. That was very forward looking. We got to stay grand and we got to play hard. But did you have a cocktail? Did you have a beer? Take us as much as you can inside James White's hotel room that night before you had to go to work Sunday. But that's a big night.
Yeah, no cocktail, no beer. It was a late night. Landing in there to Cincinnati. So I mean, I basically just got there and I watched the rest of the game, in the airport before I got, on my airplane to Cincinnati. But just sent the message to all the guys, in the little Teamworks app, just to congratulate them on the victory and just to keep building. Because like I said, as a program shifting win, and this type of program, when you beat those types of teams, it means something and it gives those guys confidence going forward.
Awesome. So that's another reminder, again, as much as he's 3-time Super Bowl champion, James White, he's also a regular guy using the Teamworks app like many folks do. And kind of shake it to make sure you look visible and then go back to not working during the week. Shake works to make it look like you've been there and then go back. All right. We are not here to talk college football. We are not here to talk about apps. We're here to talk about Patriots playing on a Thursday night. They're playing the Jets. You and your career, James, were 10-1. So before we get to the new era Patriots, we get into this game against the Jets, who sadly have snapped the Patriots winning streak that dated back to 2015, the second year of your career. I just want to know, when you were getting ready for this team, that more often than not, again, you didn't just beat, you like obliterated. And your head coach, then well-known, well-documented, hated his old team in the Jets. What was preparation like in Jets week and how it was different from, you were playing, I don't know, the Titans?
Well, the preparation is always the same, just as far as practice and the mentality. But I feel like when game day rolls around, it's just like you don't want to be the team to lose to the Jets. No one understand, how much Bill Belichick despises them, and then you start to despise them some yourself. When you're part of the organization for some time, and no matter what their record was, no matter how competitive they might have been, for some reason, we beat them pretty handily sometimes, but even when they weren't good, we had some matchups to where it came down, to the fourth quarter, because they always had a ton of talent. Maybe they didn't always, play together, but yeah, you always wanted to, be up and be ready to play the Jets. And like I said, never wanted to lose to them.
Okay, so what does competitive hate look like for James White? Like, I get okay, I have to play. You're trying to take my head off. That's the defensive job, and you're the one carrying the ball as a running back or catching passes. Was that the team you quote unquote hated the most? And if so, what did it look like? Like, how pissed did you get?
I mean, like I said, I'm a pretty even keel person, so I would never say I was directly pissed at them, but I just wanted to perform at a high level, and like I said, I wanted to do my job, at the highest level possible. Even the one game that I did lose to them in 2015, like scoring the touchdown, to take the lead or tie it or whatever it was, towards the end of the game, that meant something to me. My number was called as soon as the play was called in the huddle, got alerted to it. Like, I knew the ball was coming to me. I had to win in a one-on-one situation, just taking the onus, of that. And, that's what it's all about in those type moments in division games. I wouldn't say they were the team, I myself probably hated the most, during my career, just because, we didn't lose to them too much. Probably have to be in the division, probably Buffalo, because towards the end of my career, they started to, get a little bit better. They started to get a few wins on us. So that started to build as far as that rivalry.
Okay. Is there any moment, really quickly, I'm not going to belabor this, but as you said, you're an even killed guy, and that's how it comes across. Like, one moment, like, you're just, you talk smack to the Bills. Like, was there any, like, Matt Milano get something out of you or anybody like that?
They never really got anything out of me, but me and Milano will go at it quite a few times because we were matched up a ton. Him, Tremaine Edmonds, we would kind of go back and forth, or routes and pass blocking and all that. Never anything really like chirping, but I caught what year was that? Might have been 2018, 2018 or 2019. One of those years, I caught a wheel route on him, like close by the end zone, and Brandon Bolden scored like the next play. But I caught it on him. I didn't really say it in his face, but I started talking to the crowd a little bit. I don't even know what I said, but just being in the moment, playing in Buffalo is always a cool atmosphere. They have great fans over there. They're always into it, no matter how good or bad they are. they have a different breed of fans.
Yeah. Yeah. I think everyone is aware of the events in the parking lots, the fires, jumping on the
Yeah,
tables,
during the
fireball for breakfast.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also a lot closer on the sidelines. Like people don't realize that for you as players, even when you go sit on the bench, the sideline's supposed to be a safe space. You are 10 feet, 15 feet away from whoever is in the first row, however many tables they've broken, fireball shots they've taken. Anyway, Buffalo's a lot closer and even closer than MetLife. One other thing I wanted to ask you about the Jets and just kind of taking this time machine story time here with James White. 2019, you guys go on the road to play the Jets. It's a Monday night game. Second year in the beat, go, okay, they steamrolled everybody. This is a historic defense, boogeyman, all that. This will be their first real test. Ha! What do I know? Because Sam Darnold that night, we know, sees ghosts. You guys win 33-0, and this game that you dominated becomes more known in the public memory for just that clip that ESPN aired later and caught. Sam Darnold saying on the sidelines, I'm seeing ghosts out there. What do you remember being in the middle of it? And then afterward, when that clip kind of goes viral in that moment?
Well, being in the middle of it, I thought we just controlled the game the entire time, and defensively, it's just an excellent performance. And Bill Belichick always he has a great record against rookie quarterbacks, and they smell blood in the water. Dialing up cover zero, which he couldn't seem to figure out, which I don't see why it's so hard to know that. There's nobody in the middle of the field. I mean, most likely a lot of people are going to be blitzing. I don't think it's that hard to figure out. But hey, in that moment in time as a rookie, things are spinning, your wheels are turning, you're the top quarterback drafted, high expectations, going up against a tough defense. And yeah, he was going through it at that point in time. And it's cool to see him now. He's grown from that moment. Look, and he's having a resurgence, and that's a cool part about football. Maybe it doesn't work out early on, in your career, you bounce around some. Probably one of his final opportunities to be a starting quarterback, and he's capitalizing on that situation. But that's a different topic, which I talked about on Sirius XM early this morning about throwing these young bucks in there too soon before they're actually developed and ready to play. I think Sam Darnold's another great example of that, similar to what's happening with Bryce Young.
Yeah, you need to protect him, and I've since gotten this weird flack from just the weirdest corner of Pat's Twitter for praising Jacoby Brissett for doing a good job of diagnosing defenses, knowing when the blitz is coming, even when he doesn't, escaping that pressure. Because I just don't think I want to throw Drake May behind an offensive line, just giving up pressure 45% of the time. I don't know. Does that sound weird to you?
No, it does not. I actually posted something from my podcast last night saying like the Bryce Young situation is just a great example why us with the Patriots were not starting Drake May. There's a lot of uncertainty still on that offensive side of the ball. Yeah, maybe Drake May's a little bit more athletic. Maybe he has a stronger arm than Jacoby, and all that. But he hasn't seen some of this stuff. He hasn't dealt with some of these issues, and to throw him out there with a line that's not necessarily protecting and a passing game that's very inconsistent, I think that's hard for me to think he's going to go out there and start shredding guys up. Maybe he shows flashes and things of that nature, but I would see it being tough, and I could see his confidence being knocked some throughout his rookie season, which I wouldn't want. Like I said, I like the little sample size what we saw from him during the preseason, but as we can tell, like some of those other guys had some solid preseasons as well. And like I said, no touchdown passes, not throwing for a ton of yards. So it's going to be some growing pains. I'd rather let the guy sit there, compete against the starting defense, which our defense is going to give you, probably more looks than most teams are going to. And
he's
going to learn
zero.
Yeah, a lot of cover zero. You got to get that figured out so you don't see ghosts out there. You're going to get that handled. And when his time comes, whether it's this season or next year, I think he'll be more equipped versus starting week one.
Yeah. And look, I am a full Drake May believer. It was on the record before the draft. Super excited when they drafted him in a way that's not even like I'm rooting for the team on Sunday. It's just I think that was a wise move, and he's a ton of fun to watch. And my job now is to watch him and study and analyze him. You mentioned Goso, and then we'll move on and look ahead to this game. The days after, you guys must have had a good giggle in the locker room about that, right? Because that had some legs, that story, that line, that idea, that clip.
Yeah, I mean, I still laugh about that whole clip that went on because it's funny, man, because it's really not that complicated. You know what I mean? It's like you get hit with it once or twice. I mean, look, it happens all the time, and I've seen Lamar Jackson struggle with it some with cover zero, either last year or the year before. Like some teams just don't have an answer for it. But to say you were seeing ghosts and just saying like we couldn't find an answer for cover zeros, like he wasn't sure what he was seeing, which that's that's not very good at the quarterback position.
Yeah. Agreed. Not great when you can't solve a defense that you're going to see a lot from a team
Yeah.
in your division. You're at least going to see twice. Okay. Looking ahead to Thursday night, the difference about this game is not only that the Patriots are coming off a loss to the Jets, their season finale last year. We are not going to talk about that game that was in the snow. But I want to know about the game planning process because there's a lot of calls from people in the media, self included. Hey, you got to change the offense. And whether it's personnel usage or it's protection schemes or it's the amount of quick game that you're running as opposed to these longer developing step drop passing concepts. How much time do they have to do that? Like it's a Thursday night and Jacoby Brissett made his, basically NFL debut, starting debut on a Thursday night. It was a whole new offense, 2016. You remember that game, but is that possible to replicate here? Like how much can you do from your experience playing Thursday night?
I mean, it's possible. The coaches just have to stay, extra time at the facility, maybe keeping the quarterbacks, whoever it may be, to work on that new game plan. But I feel like it's going to be a lot of carryover from the previous week, a lot of the same concepts, unless they truly feel what they did last week, didn't work whatsoever. Then they kind of have to scramble and figure out, what's going to work best against the New York Jets. Also, I mean, they could have prepared, 2 weeks ahead too. They could have worked on the Seahawks, and worked on the Jets last week to where they have kind of sort of some plays that they already had in mind to go up against this Jets defense. So it all depends on the coaching staff. I feel like with Mayo, he coached under Bill. I'm sure they worked ahead and were prepared for this. I know for us, it was just walkthroughs all the way up through Wednesday. Then, the games on Thursday just to make sure guys' body can recover as much as possible to go out there and perform at your best on Thursday.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's interesting too because there is that balance of doing too much but also having the right answers. Like Alex Van Pelt from the opener, I asked him a couple days after you called that game in Cincinnati, Patriots win. When you reviewed your first play calling game, you did it a couple times with the Browns, but really since 2009, what did you learn? What did you think? And he says, well, without getting into the details, I need more answers. There was stuff I wanted to call, we just had not practiced or used. And he expanded his game plan in week 2. So I'm curious what that balance is, but I never thought, like, did you do that on occasion? Install and run stuff for not the next game, but the game after, knowing that was a Thursday night?
Yeah, I mean, you have a ton of plays at your disposal. You're not going to be able to work on them all. During the practice week, there's only going to be a select few. What I will say with Josh McDaniels, the day before the game, we walked through every possible play, what possible defense you think they might run, what they usually run. So there's you work through it all. So you made sure we were prepared and ready to go for anything that might possibly happen, which they can still throw some different things at you that you might not prepare for. You got to make those adjustments on the sideline. So there's always a chance that they worked on stuff last week. For Seattle, didn't call it, can call it this week against the Jets. Maybe they have a similar type of look or similar type coverage that you can run out there, run a play or concept to run against that type of defense. So there's always carryover from week to week. Sometimes you just have to make a slight adjustment, based on the specific thing that defense does.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's funny because we talk about May and Brissett, when to start him, and like you try to find the weak or the opponent, and yada yada. And I think an undersold or discussed point about not just the quality of the opponents and the defenses, the different styles of them, right? Like it's very different going from Cincinnati to Seattle, and now the Jets. We're going to play, a lot of too high like defenses are doing now, but they're much more quarters based than the Seahawks or the Bengals were. So having the ability from a quarterback standpoint just to digest that. And then secondarily, the offensive coordinator's ability to script new plays to counter their base defenses you're going to get. It does feel like it might be a new game plan, which we'll get into here, in 30 seconds. One last question, though, about Thursday night, because I look and go, okay, the Patriots have a Thursday night game week 3. That is so much better than what they had last year going in a short week to, I think it was Pittsburgh. And so is there anything else we're missing? Is that right? Like, did you care that much playing a Thursday night game early in the season, just from a physical standpoint? You don't have as much wear on your tires?
For me, I personally, I'm probably in the minority here. I never minded, Thursday night games just because we knew with Belichick, we were getting walkthroughs Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So, by Thursday rolled around, I felt like my body, was back right. I know everybody's body reacts a little bit differently when it comes to Thursday games and turf, not turf grass and all that, and travel. I feel like traveling for the game makes it a little bit tough when you're not playing a home game. Maybe, for the Jets, is it the game in New York? Is it at?
Yeah, it's at
New
MetLife.
York.
They're leaving today.
Yeah, so it's not far travel. So that shouldn't be that big of an issue for the Patriots. I feel like that can be a factor if you have to travel pretty far on a short notice. But yeah, I never really minded it as long as you did whatever you could to make sure your body was getting back right, and the coaches gave you enough time to prepare. And they draw up a pretty solid game plan. I never really had too many issues with Thursday night games. I feel like I typically perform pretty well.
Yeah, you bounce back. I know we're talking to Slate. He's not a fan, and he's also the PA rep. So what his words carry a little bit more. He's representing the locker room, and this is part of CBA negotiations. And then Gerard this week was like, I don't really care. Like Thursday night games are fine by me. I like them. You got to go. And I don't know if that's the player in him still speaking. And as we get deeper in his coaching career, maybe that changes. Maybe it doesn't. Or he just takes the line that Bill often did. Hey, whatever it is, it is. Like, they schedule the games. We got to show up. We got to play. Right?
Yep. Yeah. And it's nice you get like a mini bye week too. So you play Thursday. You get a few days off over the weekend. So you get a few extra days on the back end, watching football, relaxed at home. So that's what I liked about it as well.
Okay. So as I mentioned, the Patriots are playing at the Jets, and I've got some family in town. They might go to the game. And if they do, James, I'll tell you, there's one place that I'm going to go, just like the Patriots had with you when it came to a 2-minute drill. For me, I don't have James. I have Game Time. Because Game Time right now is offering you the ability to basically find $20 in your pocket. With code CLNS, you can get $20 off your first order of any ticket to any game. I'm talking sports, concerts, theaters, Pats-Jets on Thursday night, or any NFL game you want to go to on Sunday. And you have to go to Game Time, not because I'm telling you, because they've got the lowest price guarantee. If you find a lower price anywhere else on the secondary marketplace, they will guarantee you 110% of the difference back to you on Game Time. They've got Game Time picks. You want to know which tickets have an obstructed view, extra fees, aren't that good, which are a better value? Game Time picks sorts out all the fluff. You get incredible deals. So go to Game Time right now, as I have before. Again, family to football games, myself to the Sox, going to the Celtics when I'm out, going to the finals as a media member. This is where I go, and you should too. So download the Game Time app today. Create an account. Use code CLNS for that free $20 off in your pocket with your first purchase. Terms do apply. You can just create an account. Redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Okay. Almost 24 hours till the Patriots will have Game Time against the Jets. In case you missed it, they're 1-1. They're playing their third game in 11 days. Their last game, 24-17 win at Tennessee. Before that, they lose 32-19 at San Francisco on Monday Night Football, a game that wasn't that close, by DVOA, and it's still early in the season. Numbers don't matter a whole lot. Here are their rankings. They're 19th in offense, 23rd in defense, 11th in special teams. Patriots, by comparison, 15th in offense, 17th on defense, and their special teams took a hit, because they had a field goal block, obviously. Aaron Rodgers is the story. 31-51 so far, 343 yards, 3 touchdowns, a pick, passer rating of about 92. So when the Jets have the ball, James, I want to start here. There's going to be a big player in the middle of that defense that's missing. It's Juwan Bentley, who you played with for a little bit at the end. And I didn't really discuss his absence last time out because the news had just broken and I was doing a film episode on Pat Seahawks. But without him, I see your second most important defender when it comes to defending the run, one of your most instinctive players, one of your smartest, and a guy that's on the field for almost 100% of the snaps. What am I missing, and what will the Patriots be missing without him moving forward?
Yeah, they're missing a physical player, a great mental player, a leader, a guy who's been there, played in a lot of big football games. Juwan Bentley's a very good football player. So they're definitely missing an important piece. The two people that are going to be filling in sort of his spots, Jelani Tavai and Raekwon McMillan, which I have full confidence in him. When he's healthy, he's a good playmaker. A little bit smaller than Juwan Bentley, maybe a little less physical, but he's a little bit more of a sideline player. But I know he's a guy who's excited to get this opportunity. Has missed the last couple seasons, so I think he'll take full advantage. If it has to go beyond those two, then that's when the question marks kind of has to arise for me if any of those other linebackers have to step in. I haven't seen too much of those guys. So, yeah, and the Jets have some solid backs too. You got Breece Hall. You got my guy Braylon Allen from Wisconsin, the bigger dude. So, yeah, I think it's going to be very important for those linebackers to make sure they get downhill, get those guys on the ground because they have some talent in that backfield.
Braylon Edwards, youngest NFL player, I think I read ever, to score a touchdown week 1.
Yeah, he's like 20. It's crazy.
How old does that make you feel?
Yeah, it makes you feel pretty old, man. And he's a lot bigger than me, too. So he looks like he's 30 years old. So.
It's there was once said to me when I was covering Penn State, I don't know which player, they were describing your offensive line, 16 to be fair, and you obviously weren't there anymore, but they said they got a lot of these homegrown, corn-fed Wisconsin boys. Like, that's just what they just there's something in the water.
Freedom.
Seems to be
Yeah.
corn. Yeah, they feed them, including Edwards there. What's interesting though is, I talk about Aaron Rodgers is back, and he deserves a grace period. I think, like any player coming off of a catastrophic injury. He's also 40. We know the deal with Aaron. Well, we don't. We generally don't know the deal with Aaron, but on the football field, he's taking time to come back. So the Jets on offense, I mentioned, by DVOA so far, it's only through 2 games, 19th in offense. That comes down to a split of 20th in passing and 23rd rushing. So neither side, whatever they choose to do, is overwhelming teams. The surprise to me, though, in addition to that running game, Brees Hall is an excellent back, is their offensive line's been pretty good in pass protection. It's just not knocking people back in the run game. So when you look at the run game, aside from, okay, we're going to play Raekwon McMillan more, is this a game, understanding Rodgers is still coming back, are you more inclined to stack the box, or which area are you more comfortable with defending the Jets against the pass or when they want to run the ball?
Yeah, I'm more inclined with stacking that box. I think got Christian Gonzalez. He's a guy who can hold his own, who I think can hold his own against, their guy on the outside over there, Garrett Wilson. Maybe you double him some. But everybody else, I'm going to let those guys try and beat me. Alan Lazard has had a rough start. Mike Williams has had a rough start over there. They drafted Malachi Corley. He hasn't done too much yet. So I don't have a problem leaving, Gonzo one-on-one. I mean, Garrett Wilson's going to win some, and Gonzo's going to win some of those matchups. Or you try and double him sometimes to try and take him away because nobody else has really proven himself. And Brees Hall, he's a guy, he's a home run hitter at any given time if you give him a crease. So I'd just be sure to slow that run game down and make it tough on Aaron Rodgers and create some pressure on him. The one guy on our team who's created pressure is Keon White. Everybody else hasn't necessarily done too much in that aspect. So I would hope for somebody else to, come off the other side or up the middle to create some pass rush to make it tough on, Aaron Rodgers on tomorrow night.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, not only just because they can run the ball, they can use your formula against you, right? I would test your run defense. It's a Thursday night. You're down your best linebacker. Your defensive tackles are playing 70% and more of the snaps, which is an exceedingly high number for D tackles. And so I want to probe that, because then if I get an early lead and control the game, you can't play catch up right now the way that the Patriots are built. And there are adjustments, which we'll get to when we talk about the Patriots offense. But aside from, I think we're in silent agreement here. Like Christian Gonzalez shadowing Garrett Wilson is where you would start in the passing game. Yes?
Yep.
Okay. All right, good. Done with that. The next part you mentioned, pressure, is the biggest one with Rodgers, right? Because, if you let him know Gonzalez is shadowing Garrett Wilson, the Patriots have shown they've got changeups to say, okay, even when he's in the slot, we could be in zone. We can disguise that a little bit. What they did not do, though, last week against Seattle was disguise their blitz. And I say this for 2 reasons. One of which is to say that Geno Smith was never really bothered. Yes, he was sacked 3 times. His numbers against the blitz, 10 of 12, 171 yards, a touchdown, and a sack. And they spun the dial. Like, if you rewatch that game, you're seeing cover 2 creepers, simulated pressures, a couple traditional zone blitzes. And again, I mentioned that the Jets are good in pass protection, so I don't think you can count on a standard 4-man rush to get to Rodgers, and certainly not confuse him. Are you blitzing him? What do you need to see to disguise and maybe things that made it hard on you as a running back going, I don't know where the blitz is coming from because they're doing X, Y, or Z? What can the Patriots do there?
I mean, I think they just continue to do what they do. Just spin the dial a little bit. Sometimes it's line it up, run it. Sometimes it's line it up, show the blitz, drop out of it. Sometimes it's, show the blitz. Maybe he thinks you're not blitzing, but you're actually blitzing. You just got to spin it up a little bit. Sometimes I hear some of the good defenses. It's like sometimes you're going to disguise. Sometimes you just show it and make him think you're disguising, but it's exactly what you're showing him. So I think that's what you could do for some of these good quarterbacks. Obviously, he's going to get you some. He's played this game at a high level for a very long time. I'm sure more than half the time he's going to know what the defense is in. And at the end of the day, you just got to go out there, cover, rush, stop the run, do whatever you can, because the good quarterbacks are going to know. You're not going to confuse him, more than half the snaps. I'd imagine he's going to know a lot of the times based on watching tape and going up against, a Bill Belichick type of defense. I feel like he'll have a good beat on it. But if guys, handle their assignments and win their one-on-one matchups, it doesn't really matter if he knows what we're in, if you cover those guys up.
Right. I know that was something I would say even before I got to do this professionally. Like, I was so focused on that mental game, right? The X's and O's and the disguise and the covers and the different blitzes. And it's like, That's all well and fun. And this was how I described it last week. Geno Smith looking at the defense, doing all these different things. He's like, okay, cool. I'm going to throw it to DK Metcalf who you can't cover. That's my plan. And you probably know that's coming, and it's going to work anyway because he's a 6'5" freak who's got the strength of two men, and it's just going to body out Christian Gonzalez, who did like an okay job against him. It wasn't great. But I think Garrett Wilson is someone that Gonzalez has shown that he can cover a little bit better. I mean, even Steph, right? You remember this is a tough time for you, but 2020, Steph Gilmore gets bodied by a younger DK Metcalf, and all of us are like, oh my God. Like he's just a different guy. Speaking of the blitz, though, Aaron Rodgers has scored at PFF. I think they have a little trouble identifying blitzes at PFF because their numbers never align with mine. And mine are very simple. Are you rushing 5 or more? But here are their numbers when they identify a blitz. Rodgers so far this year is 5 of 10 for 47 yards, and that's it. It's a tiny sample. It's only 2 games. But I do wonder if you do have the confidence like you and I have in Gonzalez and Garrett Wilson, that you do bring a little bit more pressure. Understanding Tyron Smith's at left tackle, he's doing a good job. There are no weak spots between Elijah Vera-Tucker, the young center they got out of Minnesota not long ago. I can't remember their other guard, but like Keanu White's not going to have a matchup he can pick on. Yeah. Are you okay blitzing Rodgers maybe more than the Patriots would want to blitz Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, I'm okay with doing it just because those other receivers just haven't shown me enough just yet for them to really threaten me. I feel like the other corners on the team, Jonathan Jones, whoever may be, Marco Wilson, Marcus Jones, I feel like they can hold up in coverage if we decide to blitz. And I think it creates one-on-ones for those other guys who haven't been able to create pressure on the defensive front. Now you get one-on-ones, maybe you have a better opportunity to win. Keon White, like I said, he's been that one guy who's been disruptive in every single game. If Dietrich hasn't been out there, if Dietrich is banged up.
He's a little banged up, playing between like 30 and 45% of the snaps.
Yeah, so I know when he's back healthy, he's a guy who can, get edges and make plays. And Uche, if he's out there, he can make plays too. But, we'll see if those guys step up and can create some havoc as well, because you're going to need it. They have some solid offensive linemen, some veteran players. And, Aaron Rodgers is great at getting the ball out of his hands extremely quickly too. So that's kind of the trick match that you kind of have to fight, because you're rushing 5, a lot of one-on-ones on the outside. If a guy gets a step on him, Aaron's going to probably hit him. And hey, man, who knows how big of a play that can turn into.
The other, tactic or point I would make in coverage, because again, I think the Patriots, if this is a draw up front with the running game, you can survive with that, especially if you hold Breece Hall to no explosives, whatever it is in the ground without Juwan Bentley. That's a big win. I think that kind of goes without saying. There's not a lot of intrigue there for me. But in the back end, we'll go to the tactic that everyone loves to cite when it comes to Belichick's genius, as if this has not been known for a while, that they didn't really do it a lot at the end, where you double the number 1 and then put your number 1 corner on their number 2 receiver, which in this case would be Allen Lazard, who is not playing good football, but has seen the same number of targets, or he might be one off or two, from Garrett Wilson, which is to say, when we double Garrett Wilson, that would probably going to discourage Rodgers more than even Christian Gonzalez would from taking a one-on-one shot downfield and giving his guys a chance, because you're just not throwing 1-on-2. But if he looks at the other side and he's encouraged by Lazard, who clearly has his confidence, well, your Patriots feel great about that. To me, I like that also as a coverage changeup, doubling Wilson and then putting Gonzalez on the opposite side.
No, I like that as well. I know we've done that a ton ever since my rookie season. I know exactly the clip that Bill was talking about. He said we would put Revis on number 2 receiver and whatever, go double up number 1 receiver with, hey, whether it was Logan Ryan, Brandon Browner, Malcolm Butler, whoever it may be. That's a great strategy as well. I think you just continue to throw different looks at it. I don't think it can continue to be the same thing, every third down or every time you do it. I would just try and mix it up some, give those receivers some different looks. Because I think that gives, those receivers a little bit of trouble, so they don't know who's going to be matching up with them every time. Throw some different body types at them to throw them also.
Yeah. That it happened a ton in 2014. You hear people cite it all the time, like, "Oh my God, this is genius." I'm like, "Yeah, we saw it a ton. Like, it happened." but Steph at the end, late 18 and 19, aside from Sammy Watkins, I could say, but Tyreek was a different beast, obviously, in the AFC Championship game. It was more often he just blanketed the number 1, and that was that. Because ideally, that's what you want to do: devote minimal resources to getting maximum effect. Like, that was great value. Anyway, people love that tactic. I think it could come back. I think it'd be a good weapon on Thursday. Anything else you missed? Jets offense versus Patriots defense, so you're keeping an eye on.
I think that's about it. Just don't give up any explosive plays in the run game. I think that'll give the Jets a lot of relief, because their passing game is kind of similar to ours right now. They'll So they have one big time weapon who he definitely can make a big play at any given time, but everybody else, I said, has been very inconsistent. And it seems like Rodgers gets a little frustrated too, especially with Lazard, one of his former teammates. When when he tends to drop the ball or something, he shows his frustration. So they're trying to get it going. So don't give up any explosive plays in the run game.
All right. When the Patriots have the ball, you might have missed this or it just didn't sink in when I said the Patriots right now are 15th in offense by DVOA, which is not even necessarily carried by their running game, because by DVOA, which is now probably all of your confidence is going to be sucked out of this statistic I'm going to keep citing when I tell you they're only 16th in rushing and they're actually 17th in passing when you account for opponent and yards and situations, everything else that goes into, I would say, the best catch-all stat that we have. The Jets defense, 26th against the run, 22nd against the pass. Now, the storyline, because the Patriots lost and the receivers only caught 3 balls against the Seahawks, has been, oh my God, what do you do with the passing game? Yada, yada, yada. I care more about the pass protection than the passes being caught at this point, because you can feed Hunter Henry as they did and still win. They almost did. But what is your chief adjustment to get the receivers going, to get this passing game in a place where you can dam up pressure a little bit better and spread the ball around?
I mean, it's just design a few more plays to get guys like Pop Douglas and Polk involved. I think whether it's RPOs, whether it's screen passes, just get the ball in their hands, as quick as possible. If the offensive line's not going to hold up, I'm going to try and get those guys the ball as quick and as soon as possible. Like I said, I was at 2 training camp practices, and I saw the way Pop Douglas was catching almost every pass in the team drill. So to me, I mean, it seems like he had a good camp, and he's proved that he could be that, Julian Edelman type guy where move him all around, shift, motion him, get him some different looks, get him some easy access zone catches, and let him go out there and run. That's what our offense was predicated off of. When I was there, it wasn't a bunch of shots down the field or anything. I mean, we had them, we hit them, but the majority of it was 5-10 yards and under, get the ball to the guys and let them work. So I love to see a ton more of that. Like I said, those guys. Like, it doesn't have to be 30 pass completions a game or anything like that, but I very well think Pop Douglas should be getting at least 6 or 7 targets a game. I think he's earned that right.
I agree. And here's some good news on that front. One, Gerard Mayo has been public about we need to get the ball downfield. I would say when I look at the Seattle game, I just see it. It was probably too obvious time and space, right? After sudden change, you get to midfield. Those are times that people take shots. You can replace the explosive plays of 30, 40 yards a chunk if you get them not through the air, but after the catch, right? And that's what Pop Douglas is good at. Like that I think is easier to manufacture. And to that point, it's not just calling what I said for more quick game, screens, pick route combinations, RPO, something I didn't even mention, I think is a good point by you. The Jets right now are not a good tackling defense. They've whiffed 27 times and are the 6th worst tackling defense in the league right now, something I don't think is going to be helped by 1-2 practices this week going ahead to a Thursday night. So what did you see? Because you watched Jets Titans too in that regard. And how else do you exploit a bad tackling defense?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just getting the ball to your playmakers in space. As we just kind of said, Calvin really had a jet sweep where he just got to the edge and scored. Tony Pollard made some plays in the flat where he got 10 yards after the catch before somebody even touched you. So to me, it's as simple as that. Short week, they're not correcting that. You're not probably going to have any pads on. You're not working on any tackling. That's not changing very, very quickly. And if you watch the game the first week when they played San Fran, I mean, San Fran's not taking a ton of shots down the field. Their bread and butter is hand the ball off, get the ball to your guys. Debo, Juszczyk, Kittle, get it to them quickly and let them work. See if those guys can tackle you. So I think this Jets defense, I know coming into the year, I had them being like one of the top defenses, but right now it doesn't look like that so far. So I think offensively, they should be licking their chops. Ramondre should be licking his chops. Antonio Gibson should be licking his chops. You getting that open field, man. You gotta make them pay.
Yeah. Now we're going to get to the run game in a second, because there are more numbers that you dive just a little deeper or just check certain rankings that are helpful, including the fact that, again, they're missing tackles. The other part I want to say is this, because the Patriots have not called a lot of play action. Their rate in Cincinnati was 17%. It was 20% against Seattle. That's low for an older, I don't want to say older offense, but an offense that had the bones of an old school Shanahan offense. Wide zone, boots off of that. It's lower than expected. I think it's because they knew they couldn't pass protect. The Jets pass rush right now is not very good. Like, you just lost Jermaine Johnson, who started
Yeah,
all
that's
last year, former
the
first-round
only
pick.
guy creating pressure.
Well, exactly. And then Hassan Reddick's not walking through that door. Quinnen Williams right now is the only guy on defense that I'm worried about, that identifies, okay, we need to double team him. We need to use trap blocks. We need to use wham runs. We need to use whatever, draw screens, etc. to worry about. They're 26th at PFF. They're 25th by pass rush win rate. That to me is like, we can run play action and not be worried about Jacoby Brissett turning his head around and being like, oh shit, I have to run away right now. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
more play action, I think, is helpful here.
Yeah, definitely. And I thought that was going to be their MO, throughout the years. Run the ball, play action, whether that's shots or just play action, get the ball, 5 to 10 yards past the line of scrimmage. I thought they were going to do a ton of that. Maybe that's a lack of confidence in the offensive line. But I mean, if you're running the ball that well, you would think that that will work. When you're running play action, it makes the defenders think it's run. It makes it a little bit more of a easier pass block for those guys. I think they need to mix that in a little bit more, because the amount of success you're having in the run game, I would just imagine there's got to be, making those linebackers step up and getting some easy action. We should do it a ton, with Gronk, any tight end, like break a little power play right at the seam, 15, 20 yards, or sometimes he'll break it for a touchdown. So you got Hunter Henry, you got guys like that that can make plays, or sending your slot guys across the middle too. I think there needs to be a much heavier dose of that throughout the year.
Would you, as someone who's watched the Patriots, knows the offensive line struggles, I've said it, I'll say it again, 45% pressure rate. And this is not
Yeah,
Jacoby Brissett standing back, patting the ball, cradling it, trying to burp it like a baby, and then getting rid of it. This is instantaneous, right in his face, whatever the pass play is. Would you open? Do you have enough confidence to open with enough play action plays? Like, this feels to me, James, when you guys were struggling to throw the ball, your better run teams under Bill, they'd be like, we're going to do the opposite of what you expect right away. And that to me would be a lot of play action in this opening drive.
Yeah, I'd be open to doing that. Like I said, teams are going to be anticipating the Patriots run the ball probably 65% of the time until, they really prove they can throw the ball down the field. And teams are going to start to stack the box or just commit to the run until maybe throw the ball over our heads, or at least try to. So, yeah, play action early on in the football game, I believe it'll work. You'll be able to create a chunk play early on in the football game to, like I said, either a Hunter Henry, Pop Douglas, Jalen Pope. You fake an outside zone, send somebody on a crosser, a double move, whatever it may be. I think that's a very viable option early on in this football game against the Jets, especially a team that can't create pressure. I mean, I wouldn't be worried too much about the edges this week, and the interior is what I'll be worried about with Quinnen Williams. Everybody else, I think they can hold their own.
Yeah. And we'll see about Caden Wallace, who might start at left tackle again. We don't have the final injury report here, but it doesn't look good playing, tomorrow and having a guy miss practice yesterday when it was a walkthrough. And that's exactly what happened to Vidarian Lowe. One other point on that that I wanted to make, CJ Mosley was also on the injury report for the Jets, one of the linebackers that I know Belichick respected and talked about more than anybody that you guys faced. If you have a replacement there who has to combat play action, but has been told all week they want to run the ball, they had a 76% run rate on first down in the opener. It was above 60 again against Seattle. Like, this is a team, first down, neutral downs, wants to run the ball. I think that could help a little bit more too. But pounding the rock does as well, because the Jets' run defense is not very good. They're fifth worst run defense right now, according to PFF. Like, these numbers are shocking, James. I was with you going, this will be one of the best defenses in football. What beyond just the Patriots loading up in big bodies? Like, how do you attack this run defense with the run schemes that they have? Because they've shown they can run wide zone and plenty of other stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, just continue to do what you're doing. Wide zones killed them the first week with San Fran. San Fran was like, Jordan Mason was having a field day, obviously, just getting downhill, breaking tackles, running through arm tackles. It just seems like the sense of urgency and the discipline when it comes to the Jets isn't there as of right now. You have to take full advantage of that. I think the offensive line should play aggressive. They should play with confidence. Even if Caden Wallace is the guy that starts at left tackle, I feel like he should play confident as well. Seeing some of the clips that he has played in, seems like a physical and a tough football player. So I feel like he has a great opportunity to go out there, and if you get the start at left tackle, go out there and impose your will. I think for them, I said outside zones, draws, inside zones, downhill runs, make them defend it. I mean, even I know CJ Mosley is a great football player, got to compete against him quite a few times, but even him, Quincy Williams, they haven't impacted the game as much as what they've had, in the last several years. So even if they're in there, I'm still I'm going straight at them. Like I said, we can start with play action early just to keep them on their toes, but then once we get into it, I'm gonna see if you guys are gonna slow this run game down.
So I'm going to ask you a question for me because I want to nerd out with you for a second. But the Patriots ran, I talked about this Monday, but I didn't show it. A couple pin and pulls that went for a good distance. And you saw your guy, number 60, haul ass around the corner that we
Yeah,
did not see a whole lot when you were playing with him.
yeah,
Like, that catch your attention? Do you care about that anyway? Because I was like, oh, yeah, of course David Andrews can pull, and he was
yeah.
good.
You get my guy on the move, man. He's versatile. He can get out there in the open field and hold his own. He's done it plenty of times for me, catching screen passes, getting out there in front of me. So it's a similar type thing. You pull him, get him on the edge, get an angle. Get fit up on linebacker, safety, corner, whoever it may be. Do more of it. That's what like San Fran does. They pull all different types of people. They give you different looks. I feel like the more runs you can have in your arsenal, it's hard for the teams to the game plan against you versus just running outside zone, inside zone. Teams can start to get a beat on that. You start, pulling different guys. Then teams really have to think. Linebackers hesitate just a second, then hey, David Andrews right up on you. Ramondre gets up underneath it or bounces outside, however it may be. I like it, man. And I talked to David during the training camp practice that I went to. He's like, it's cool the different amount of run plays that they have. It just seemed a little bit more simplified or to the way he likes to play compared to the last couple of years. So I think that they're confident, in the plan that's being put in there, especially as far as the run game. It's just the passing game. It just has to evolve and be more consistent.
Yeah, I don't think it's a hot take to say a lot of guys on the offensive side are much happier than they were the last 2 years, and we still have 50 games to play.
Yeah, it's no mystery.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say, and then if there's anything else we missed, we did talk a lot about Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper, and the Patriots have had better success rates going 2 tight ends than they did with 3 receivers. But for the most part, as you and I just called on, Pop Douglas has to be a part of this plan. So if you don't trust him to win outside, and that I would understand a little bit, then you have to play more 11 personnel versus 12, which is going to lead me to my other point of sometimes they'll just go with one receiver because their most successful groupings have all had a 6 offensive linemen.
Yeah.
And then if you include him as a tight end, sometimes it's 2, other times it's 3. And I look at this and go, just keep it simple, stupid. Like when you beef up and run behind all these guys, their success rate was over 71% against Cincinnati. It was even higher against Seattle. And so bad run defense, beef up, have some counters off that, some play action and boot stuff. To me, that just seems like not low-hanging fruit, but something you at least have to test out. The Jets stand you up fine. Like you have other counters to go to, but I think they're going to go more 6 offensive linemen and frankly should.
Yeah, it's worked. It worked against Cincinnati. It worked last week. I think they said they've run it 25 out of 26 plays out of the big personnel. So teams are going to be anticipating the run. So have some play actions off of it. Maybe have what we used to call a pistol route for the single receiver that's in that formation. Get them isolated on the safety, break to whatever pylon, create a shot that way. So I think the way they've established it so far, I think that's going to pose a threat for teams throughout the entire year because not many teams are doing this anymore. So it gives them a little bit of an edge when it comes to that.
Pistol route. I've never heard that phrase before. Are you talking like just a corner, like a?
It's essentially what Randy Moss used to run with Tom Brady. It's essentially they run like in up at the safety, and then you put your hand up whatever direction you decide to break to the right pylon, left pylon, and the quarterback knows where to throw it based off of that. So, gotcha. I don't know if Alex Van Pelt has that in his offense, but but yeah, if you're running big personnel and you got a guy, whoever it may be, whether Polk can do it, whether I don't know if he Pop Douglas doing it. He's probably a little bit small to be doing that like down the field like that. I'm sure he can run it though.
Yeah. Just look for the hand up. I love how we can get so into the weeds and all the success rates and the different techniques and the pin and pulls and this and that. And we can also just go back to this backyard approach. Find the dude far downfield, wide open, got his hand up, throw me.
Chuck it. As soon as the hand goes up, you got to let it go.
All right. It's time for a 3-2-1 breakdown. We do this every week. 3 matchups we're looking for, 2 keys, 1 wild card thought. And if you want to do a game pick, you can. We'll get you out of here. So what's one matchup? Of all the things we just highlighted, you're looking at this as the battleground that could really kind of swing this game for you.
For me, it's the Patriots offensive line versus the Jets defensive line and pass protection. Like I said, they gave up a ton of pressure so far this year. Jets don't give up or don't pressure the quarterback very well. So I think this could be an opportunity for us to take that passing game to the next level. I know it's a a short week, so I don't know. You're not getting really too many live reps when it comes to the passing game. I feel like it could be. I know they have Sauce Gardner and a couple other guys back there, but those guys have given up some plays even last week against Tennessee. So let's give those guys some opportunities if the offensive line decides to protect this week versus a team who's struggling to get pressure on the quarterback.
I like it. I think that's absolutely the battleground that if the Patriots win, you'll look and say, okay, they won there. And that allowed them to get a little bit more of an edge than you expected. I'm going to go defense here. Christian Gonzalez against Garrett Wilson. This is another keep it simple, stupid. Like he did a good job last year against Wilson, and Wilson's changed and grown. Same with Gonzalez. But like that's the only real receiver that scares you. Put Gonzalez on him or double him. But I think what the Patriots have shown so far, they trust Gonzalez to be their number one against whatever number one. And so I would expect that to continue. Number two is going to be Raekwon McMillan playing 60+% or 60+ snaps on defense against Breece Hall. That's a dude no one really wants to tackle. And if you miss, as you said, he can go to the house. So I'm not saying McMillan is going to miss the tackles. It's just different when third, fourth quarter, you've got all this wear and tear on you, and you got to go bang heads again in the A gap. And we'll see how he looks. He's a veteran. I'm sure he'll be fine, but you just need to see it, especially in short rest, because missed tackles, again, that's where teams win and lose in September. And the Patriots have been winning there, but you've got a new linebacker in the middle of your defense. All right, 2 keys to victory. What's your key?
Ooh, key number one, I would say offensively, just not letting any of the other, defensively, not letting any other receivers on the Jets beat you. That's the big thing for me. You can't let Lazard, you can't let Mike Williams have a big day. I think Garrett Wilson will be handled fairly well. I'm sure he's going to make some catches, but you can't let Mike Williams go out there and have a big day. You can't let Alan Lazard get behind the defense, because then I think Aaron Rodgers can have a field day, if that happens. And the other thing defensively, just don't give up the big runs. Like I said, Breece Hall is a home run hitter. You have the tendency to put the ball on the ground to try and get the ball off him, but guys just have to tackle him if he gets in the open field. He ripped one off down the right sideline against the Titans last week. He's able to run through those arm tackles, and he has the speed to take it the distance. So don't let him off the hook.
So I have 2 prepared. Just I didn't know where you were going to go. We don't discuss these before the pod. And one I had was, whether it's Wilson or Lazard or Mike Williams or whomever, and this is not my key, but I'm going to share it anyway. Be physical with them, because you need to buy that pass rush time. And if you disrupt the timing of their passing game, that'll give the rush an extra second, an extra beat to get to Rodgers, who's certainly not as mobile as he once was pre-Achilles tear. So that to me is going to be huge. Even if you're going to give up catches, make sure you win at the line of scrimmage or in the first 2 yards to disrupt that timing. My real key now for a second one, 3 matchups, 2 keys, is going to be expose the Jets tackling. Like, this is an offense that survived on Ramondre Stevenson being Superman in week 1. They got very close because Jacoby Brissett was escaping a lot of sacks and pressures in week 2. That's a lot for players to create on their own. Everyone needs to do that now in week 3. The 2 of them, Pop Douglas that we talked about, maybe Jalen Polk, whatever it is, Antonio Gibson, who's good at this too, break tackles, get in space. That needs to be something the Patriots win in order to get out of there with a win on Thursday night. All right, a wild card thought. So this could be X's and O's, could be matchup, could be something totally unrelated to the game, as long as it's Pats-Jets. What's on your mind, James White?
Ooh, Pop Douglas was frustrated this past week. So my wild card thought he has close to, I won't say over 100 yards. That'd be my kind of a stretch. I think
Come on, James.
Okay, he has over 100 yards receiving this week. I feel like they feed him. Give him, about 8 catches over 100 yards. I think he can win that matchup in the slot on a short week. I'm sure he's chomping at the bit after he had no catches last week. So I'm sure he's hungry. He's ready. Like I said, I've seen it in practice already. I know this kid's ready for the moment. You got to feed him.
Oh, I love it. That's good. For me, let's say they win, right? You're 2-1. You got this long layover. You're going to play San Francisco next. Christian McCaffrey's not going to play. Sounds like Deebo Samuel might not. You have a lot of people in the media going, okay, if you're 3-1, you have to be pushing for the playoffs. I would argue you win 2-1 and you're in that locker room. You say, we won as an 8.5-point underdog. This is a 6.5-point spread right now. And we were a field goal away from beating the Seahawks at home again as an underdog. It's going to be really, really hard to convince team leadership in that locker room to not make a push for the playoffs at 2-1. Because we know organizationally, right? Like Gerard Mayo has embraced this idea. Elliot Wolf is the same. We just want to get better. We want to compete. It's not about wins and losses. We'll try telling that to David Andrews and Dietrich Wise and Jacoby Brissett. If you start 2-1 and beat the Bengals who might go to the playoffs, or you lose to a good Seahawks team and then topple Aaron Rodgers and Joe Burrow, and you're saying, oh, we can't make a run at this when Tua's out as well for at least the next 4 or 5 games, another player you're going to miss in week 5, it's going to be huge for locker room. And I don't know if they win. I'm not going to pick them to win, but we can imagine what it'll feel like in there just to be that upstart of a team. Even if September is it's not a mirage, there's just not a lot you can count until mid-October to know what a team is. But that's for us on the outside to take the big view. When you're in the weeds and you're in the day-to-day and you've worked for 8 months to this point, now you're beating teams that many people didn't think you would. That does a lot for confidence and belief, and honestly should raise the bar, I think, in that locker room. Is that how you would feel, you imagine?
No, I think it's realistic, especially on the state of the division currently. Who knows what happens with the Dolphins with 2 out. Jets are trying to figure it out. The Bills look good so far. But look, man, everything you want or what you thought you couldn't get is right out in front of you. You go out here, beat a division opponent, the Jets, you're 2-1. Go play against San Fran, which I think we can compete with those guys as well. Obviously, they've been one of the top teams in the league over the last several years. But they're beatable. The Vikings went out and handled them pretty well, and they run a similar type scheme defensively as what we're going to run. So you just got to man up and bow up. But I think they can win this football game. The Jets, I thought they would be much better at this point than what they currently are. They're a beatable football team. But it's all about just how they come to play. They play the way they played the last couple of weeks. I think they'll be right there in it. And like I said, it's can that passing game. They will get challenged in the passing game with this secondary. Can we get guys like Pop Douglas involved and not give up any big plays to those guys? Because they have some big playmakers on offense. So they haven't created them, really just yet. But like I said, they're good enough to make them if you slip up. I will say that.
Yeah. All right. Prediction time. I'll go first. I already teased this. I think the Jets win 20-19. I think this is another heartbreaker at the end. And it's not because of any character or choking or courage that the Patriots lack. It's just the Jets are home. They've got more talent. And I think there's just going to be just a small gap where the Patriots are like, oh, God. And we could talk about this as like another loss to feel good about. But I think this will be more of an accurate representation of where both teams are. But for a 6.5-point favorite to lose by 1 on the road, if this happens as I foresee it, 20-19, the score I'm going to pick is not that bad. It's just going to sting nonetheless because it's the Jets. Do you think the Patriots win?
I picked against them, week 1, and they won. So I think I'm going to have to flip my script. I think they go on the road and beat the Jets. I just think the Jets they don't quite have it figured out just yet. I think it's a 1-score game. I got the Patriots 17-14, one of those close football games, four-quarter game, probably last possession, whether we got to go down, win a field goal, or stop them, them trying to drive down to tie it up. I think they have a great opportunity. Short week, too. And like I said, we've been able to run the football. Jets haven't been able to stop the run. So I think they're going to get a whole heavy dose of Ramondre, Antonio Gibson, and maybe them trying to stop our run. Maybe that opens up that pass game, that Pop Douglas 100-yard game is what I'm talking about.
We know you love that because you watched Northern Illinois basically do that to Notre Dame. Sit on the ball, run, just kind of hang in and do it. And look, that's we said it after the opener. This is the Patriots formula moving forward. Control the ball, play good defense. It's old school. But lucky for them, the whole league has gone back in time because you see scoring's down, a lot of too high defenses. Like these are the games you're hanging in. I don't know if it's ever going to get back to college that way for a variety of reasons. But hey, it worked for you. It could work for the Patriots. Any final thoughts before we get you out of here?
No, man, just excited for this team. I think they're off to a great start. Very easily could be 2-0, 1-1, sitting in a good spot. I said, and they're a very unfinished product. I said, still a lot of unknowns. Still guys like Kendrick Bourne still on IR and things of that nature. If they find a way just to get the receivers involved consistently, man, I think they're going to be competing with every single team they step on the field with. So, like I said, I'm very optimistic about the season.
Yeah, a proud Patriot, a proud Husky. Keep up with him. We're going to check in whenever we see you next. We're always appreciate the time here. But if Northern Illinois has another big win, you need to have a drink, a party, go out, do something, then just go to the work app and say, like, oh, keep at it, fellas, because we got to – they don't come around that often, James. I need, a happy hour or something that we'll get in there for you.
Yeah, we go out there, we win the MAC, man. Maybe I'll have me a shot or two or something. I don't.
All right, we have this recorded now. I'm gonna hold you to this. Go Huskies. Thank you, James White. Awesome as always. Pub your pod really quickly because it's got better. You guys do great work there.
Also, you guys can check us out, the Money Down Podcast. We're on Instagram at the Money Down Pod, on Twitter at the Money Down Pod, TikTok, on YouTube at the Money Down Podcast. We're everywhere you need to find us. Like I said, we talk sports, obviously talk Patriots, talk life a little bit. A big thing about our podcast, we call it the Money Down. Obviously, when it comes to football, the third down to end the game situations, but money down to life is when you bet on yourself, take a gamble, and go all in to accomplish your dream. So that's the thing that we most want to get pushed across. Just kind of kick game to everybody and give you some positivity and give you some motivation going forward. So that's what we're all about.
Yeah, some juice. Some bring your own juice.
Bring your juice. Yeah.
Could also be, it's a handsome party, which is I'm sure why I've not been a guest yet, but that's fine, James.
We're gonna get you on there.
No, I can't disrupt what is a very good looking group there. Money Down. Listen to it, watch it, follow them. He's James White. You know him. Thank you for spending an hour with us and talking Pats Jets and laughing a little, my friend.
All right, thank you. Have a good one.